Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of your Denver-based podcast crew, we appreciate you joining us for the Friendly Vibes.
Coming to you live from TSS Top Shelf Studios Universidad. I am so honored to be joined by the namesake of this glass, a local Denver legend, as I introduce him at Comedy Works South, longtime sports writer, broadcaster, right? You broadcaster. Mm-hmm. And now stand-up comedian and all-around quality human. Sam Adams is here in Top Shelf Studios. Thanks for being here, brother.
No one's ever called me a quality human.
Oh,
Thank
come
you.
on. Cheers. That's not true. There's no way.
They've called me some other names, but hey, thanks for having me, man.
We're not talking about head coaches of teams you're reporting on. Now, in that case, I mean, they might not have a reason to be on your side of things. You got to report critically the facts.
Yeah, just the facts, but for the most part, man, the coaches like me. It was really weird. The one guy that really butt heads with me was Wade Phillips, and he's like the nicest guy in the world.
Huh.
I wrote that he didn't blitz Joe Montana one night. The Chiefs won the game at the last minute. They wore all white, and Joe Montana's jersey was all white at the end of the game. He threw like 51 times. Oh. Dude didn't have one grass stain. So I wrote that the Broncos defense didn't blitz him enough, and Wade wasn't too happy about that. A couple of days later, he pulled me aside. We blitzed him. Why you don't write something about that, man? We blitzed him. You don't have to say that if you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, you'll be gone. And he was.
You know what's always been surprising to me is the attention to detail outside of the game of football that coaches bring. You would think that they would be, very multifaceted minded in the game and approach from a head coach level. No, they read every article that comes out about the team, it seems, because they've got a comment for every writer.
Yeah, the PR department cuts out every article, whether it's local, it's USA Today, New York Times. They get a hold of it like the next day. They're on top of it. And this was even before the internet became the number one. So
a franchise has a person whose job is to read about.
So the Broncos play yesterday. Let's just take this back 30-something years, but the Broncos play on Sunday. And on Monday, everything that's in the, at that time, Rocky Mountain News, everything that's in the Denver Post, everything that's in the Colorado Springs Gazette, everything that's in a newspaper that's within 100 miles, they find it. And they have a scrapbook.
Wow.
And then and all the teams do that.
Yeah.
It's just not the Broncos.
That was surprising.
And so
to me.
they would make copies of the articles and give it to the coaches. They make one copy for the scrapbook, and then they make another copy and give it to the coaches. And so they know. And then the players read too. Like John Elway's nickname was Newspaper Nose.
Because he was always reading it.
Always.
And then they're making comments in press conferences about it.
And I think that was a nickname that John's kids gave him.
Interesting.
He would be at the table.
At dinner time.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So the players know. So when they tell you, I don't read the newspaper, yeah, they do.
Everybody's
reading.
They
listen, they read. And so a coach can almost quote you what you wrote better than you can requote it.
Yeah, I imagine so. Wow. So does that add another layer of pressure as you are putting out work or as you're going the interview phase? What stage of the process of the job does that pressure come in, if at all?
I always felt like if I was writing what I believed to be accurate, I didn't have anything to worry about. That thing I told you about Wade Phillips, Wade got all technical with me. We blitzed him, okay. You know what? I probably used the wrong words when I said they didn't blitz him.
Right.
If I had said it didn't matter what they did, they didn't get to him, I'd have been 100% accurate.
I guess I asked coming from a generation of going through school, and words being a big deal in terms of people flaring up about certain words being used or chosen for certain things. Mm-hmm. PC culture being just, something that was in Boulder Public Schools normal. And, for a good part of it, good on the whole. And so I wonder if being a broadcaster, being a sports reporter, if that's developed over time, that problem injecting yourself into that, or?
Well, it's a little like the way I do my comedy. I thought right off the bat that I was going to be clean. And the same with how I was as a writer. I was just going to report what I saw and be straight, just the facts, that type of thing. Not looking for controversy, not looking to interject myself to get a story. Now, when you become a columnist, and later on I did, that's your job to tell what you think. But
that's a good. Can we stop there for a second to distinguish between a sports writer and a columnist?
Yeah.
For someone that doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, overall, if you are in sports and you are writing for the sports department, you are a sports writer. But the levels, a reporter gets the facts and reports the facts. The columnist gets to tell you his or her opinion.
Okay.
So
they can say, like,
watch the game and you're the reporter and you say, with 2 outs in the ninth inning, so-and-so swung at a 3-2 fastball, the ball game was over. I'm the columnist. I go, why he would swing at that 3-2 pitch that was so far out of the strike zone, I don't understand. This guy never shows patience. He always wants to get, he always seems to want to get the, and there, when you talk about using words, if I say he always wants to get, I could be factually wrong. You can take that personally and go, I don't always want to see, but if I say he always seems, it's just amazing. You just throw one word in there. He always seems to want to be the hero.
Yes, because they can't.
If I say he always wants to be the hero,
you don't know what he wants.
Like you can't say.
But no one knows what you seem.
Yeah, so it's amazing how 1 or 2 words.
Yeah.
But the main thing is what I found is when you go to that person afterwards and say, "This is where I'm going." But if I talk to you about it, you know where I'm going. You don't have to agree, but you know where I'm going. If I just do a trash job on you without even talking to you, you're going to be upset. And so that was my calling card, was always talking to
before the piece was going to come out.
Yeah. Now, when you do it on deadline for a game, that's a different thing, man. You're like, I got time to listen to some questions in the press conference, and then I got to go back and, especially a night game. But on a day-to-day, just writing columns and stories, just day-to-day stuff, if I didn't like the way I saw things going, I would go to the person that I was going to write about before I wrote about it. Not because I was scared of them or anything like that. It's just being fair.
Did anyone teach you that, like, coming up in the business, or is that something that you learned from someone else? Or
no, I probably should have.
Just a values thing from your family?
I used to read. See, journalism was not my thing. I was a great dropout in college. I didn't go to college for journalism. I always had a knack for writing. And when I got to Denver back in '84, I never thought about being a reporter or anything like that. But the jobs that I had kept me in front of a typewriter. I was a clerk. So being in front of the typewriter, I just started writing stuff about sports. And one day a guy goes, "Hey, man, you think you know so much about sports? Why don't you go write for a newspaper?" And I went over to the Denver Post and said, how do you become a sports writer? And they were like, "Well, we just don't hire people off the streets. But if you want to call our high school sports editor, he's always looking for people to come into the department." And it took a couple months before they sent me to cover a basketball, like Highland High School and Jefferson High School, the Highland Hornets and Jefferson Tigers. This was like December of '86. And I didn't know what I was doing. But the next day, my little story was in the paper. They sent me with this dude who was like on the staff, and he was, he was like the guy that I'm supposed to learn from. So he's sitting there munching on popcorn, and I'm just like, And the next day, my story was in the paper. Sorry about that, Kim Hartwig. That was a
what was that feeling like? How old were you at that point?
Dude, I was 26. But yeah, when I saw my name in the paper, man, I thought I was the man. I thought I was like, oh, I'm in. They'll be hiring me. I tell you this, and this is the thing I love about podcasts. I can tell stories, and you know me. When I'm on stage, that's all I do is tell stories. But some of them I don't tell. People don't know. So December 20th of 86 is when I did that high school game. And it wasn't too much longer after that the Philadelphia 76ers came to town with Julius Erving, Dr. J. Y'all the basketball.
Yeah, we know the doctor.
This was the doctor's last game in Denver.
So did he do like a season tour where everyone knew he was retired?
Everybody was giving him gifts and everything.
Love that.
And for Julius Erving and for Denver fans, because it went back to the ABA days, they remember him in a way that only a few cities did. Indiana with the Pacers, the Nets. He played for the Nets, and then there was maybe one other ABA team, the Spurs. So Denver was, a big time stop because they were only going to play one game. Philly coming from the East, only one game. And so it was a big deal. And the game was sold out. And Julius Erving at that time, the doctor, my favorite. And I wanted to see that game bad. But the game was sold out. Now, my day job was working at an insurance company. I was a clerk. That's where I used to sit and type and do all this stuff. And I'm trying to think, how can I get in that game? Oh, wait, I just wrote an article in the Denver Post. I'm going to call the Denver Nuggets Public Relations Department, Media Relations, and tell them that the Denver Post is sending me to write a story about Dr. J's final game in Denver. Not thinking how the whole process worked, because I've never been a part of the process of an editor calling the Public Relations Department, who then issues a credential.
But that's the drive of youth, right? That's the ignorance and drive of youth.
Yeah, but I was a 26, soon to be 27.
Hey, that's young enough for me to have the drive still.
In media age, I was 2 weeks old. So I call, and in the PR guy was a guy named Bill Young, and so he's just like, so they're sending you to cover the game, and I'm just like, yeah. And he goes, okay. All right, well, we'll take care of it. And I hang up. And like the office that I work for is on Orchard Road. It used to be called Great West Life. Now it's the Empower. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh man, that was too easy. Oh. About an hour later, my phone rings, and it's the high school sports editor. And I go, hey, what's going on? He says, you need to get down here to the paper right now. Oof. And I'm thinking, this is where I get the press pass. Yes, they sent it over. This is so cool. Yeah, buddy, I'm too good for your high school ranks. I'm about to go pro. I'm
Cloud nine.
Go to my supervisor and said, hey, a little something's come up. I need to leave early. It's pretty close to time to get numb. She's like, oh, go ahead. Driving down the Denver post office. You know where the Hyatt in the convention center is?
Yes.
15. That building stands on the ground of what used to be the old Denver Post building. So I park on the side of the street and I go in, and I mean, I'm waiting for trumpets to blare. And I have to go up to the back of the newsroom. That's where the high school people, they put us in the back of the newsroom. And I get up there, and Taylor Scott was the guy's name. He's a high school editor. He's about 5'5", triple starch white shirts all the time. His shirts were just stiff, man, And he says, come with me. And he takes me to the stairwell.
Oof.
And so I'm like,
trumpets in the stairwell.
I'm like, okay, This is not. I was waiting for the,
Credential.
Like when they handed the broom over.
Right.
And he goes, I don't know what you did. I don't know what you said, but Tom Patterson wants to see you. Now, Tom Patterson is the executive sports editor of the Denver Post. He's so far over Taylor Scott that it's ridiculous. And as soon as he said Tom Patterson, I was thinking, oh, so I get the pass from Tom Patterson. I'm still not with it. And then he says, whatever you do, don't lie. And now I'm thinking, uh-oh. Yeah, I think I know what's going on. And like Taylor didn't even want to know. He's just whatever. Don't lie. He might have just wanted to act because Tom Patterson will kill you. I mean,
right.
I think that's what he wanted to say, but he didn't want to scare me. And so he takes me to Tom's office, and Tom says, "All, hey, sit down. No, have a seat." I'm sitting there. So you just wrote your first article. And I was like, yeah. So you called over to the Denver Nuggets and asked for a pass. And now I'm just like,
melted into the seat.
God. Taylor said, don't lie. And I go, yeah. He goes, if you ever call a team asking for a pass, you will never work for this newspaper. You will never have another article. You won't even get within a mile of this building. And I was just like, oh, shoot. And then he goes, so you were what, like a Nugget fan? And I was like, no. He goes, you like Dr. J? And I was like, yeah. And he opened up his drawer and he goes, I'll sell you this ticket. And I was like, I hope I got money in my wallet.
How much was the ticket back then?
Oh, dude, I wish.
Just to make me mad.
It wasn't $25.
Wow.
It wasn't $25.
Lower. Is there?
I still have the ticket stub.
Was there separate bowls and McNichols? I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like it was. Look.
Every seat's still a great seat in Ball Arena.
The fact that I was able to get in, it was a good seat. He could have put me at the very top. I would have been happy.
That's incredible.
But he sold me the ticket. He says, remember what I said. Don't ever try to pull that again. And so I went to the game. Now, people in departments talk. Well, Tom Patterson told Mike Monroe, who was covering the Denver Nuggets at the time, this knucklehead jerk tried to get a press pass to get in the game. He's just a high school guy. One byline. And Mike Monroe got a copy of the photo of Alex English presenting the Denver Nuggets present to Dr. J at midcourt.
Like the giving of the flowers. Yeah, quite literal.
Whatever the gift was. And in the middle was a guy named Chopper Travellini. There's a sports bar in town called Chopper's. It's named after...
Chopper Circle's named after him too, right?
Yeah. It's named after the trainer of the Nuggets. He was a very popular guy.
The original trainer.
Yeah. And he was also Julius Erving's trainer before that, before he came to Denver. So in the middle is Chopper and Alex is shaking. Well, Mike got a copy of that and got it to me.
Wow.
Signed by Julius Erving.
Oh, man, that's so neat. I love how that story ends. What a great story.
Yeah. So Mike Monroe is the guy that broke that story the first time that Michael Jordan was retiring. Mike Monroe broke that story.
Is he still with us?
No, he's alive, but he's he's still with us. Well, he's still alive.
Well, that's what I meant.
No, he's in San Antonio. He's been in San Antonio for a number of years now.
Okay.
Writing, but I'll never forget that he.
What a great time to cover the Spurs. Does he cover the Spurs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's covered the Spurs for years now. And Mike was the guy that as I started writing more and more and getting better and better and moving up to the point where I believed that I should be a full-time writer. Mike wanted me to cover the Nuggets with him. And that's how the wheels actually started turning for me to get hired full-time. There was an opening covering the Nuggets, and I was still covering high school, but all the writers, all the full-time, everybody in the sports department knew, like they were like, yeah, man, they thought I was ready. This is like 6 years in the making, but they were like, man, you ready. And the job was posted, and Woody Page was the sports editor at the time. He was the sports editor and lead columnist.
Can I tell you a little funny aside real quick about Woody Page?
Mm-hmm.
Me and my buddy in middle school, we'd get out of elementary and middle school and go to his house just in time to watch Around the Horn. And we would always hope that Woody Page was on Around the Horn that day so we could cheer for the Denver sports writer, Woody Page. And so, that was our guy growing up. And, till this day, I love, I think he's still on that show occasionally now.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
I'll see if I can hook that up. Woody would say something, I don't know why you want me to meet your friend. It sounds creepy, wanting to root for me. I'm just a writer.
I'm just a guy reporting.
I'm just a writer.
Really humble, nice dude, it seems like from afar.
Yeah. And, I always tell people, well, I slipped a note under his door saying job number, whatever the number was on the posting.
Right.
I said, it's got my name on it. Can I at least talk to you? And he left a message for me at my day job saying, come in. And I was thinking, oh, maybe this is it. And he's like, well, we've actually already hired someone those people don't know. This is a Woody Page impression for those of y'all.
It's pretty good, honestly.
because we've already hired someone, and I've been reading your stuff. I like what you're doing, kid, but don't quit your day job. That's what he told me. And then he had me take a piece of paper. He said, write this down, define the goal, decide what's important. And that was like the late fall, early part of winter of 1990. And 2 weeks before New Year's, I quit my day job. He never knew. He didn't know. I quit my day job in 1990. He didn't find out until 2005.
15 years?
Yeah. And at that point, I was a columnist for the Rocky Mountain News, and he was a columnist for the Denver. But you had
risen to his level.
Yeah. We were sitting in the press box at Fort Collins. We were watching a CSU football game, and Woody was bragging to some other reporter, I hired him and I made him, and he was nothing but a little high school guy, and I brought him, and I was like, you know what, Woody? You told me don't quit my day job, and you know what I did? I quit my day job. I made you hire me. And I did. I spent all of 1991, man, just going around the city looking for stuff to write about, and I would sell it back to the Denver Post as a freelancer. And I sold so many articles back to them that they were like, man, we should hire him because we're paying him more as a freelancer than we would if he was full-time. I was going to Regis. At that time, it was Regis College, but I was going to Regis, Metro, University of Denver. At that time, they were all like Division II level. And they had a lot of young athletes who were from the Denver area. And we in the media, we tended to focus on anyone who went to CU or CSU or Air Force. But if you think about it, like, a lot of local kids weren't going to CU or CSU. It was really weird. So kids, male and female, who were stars at the high school level, a lot of times people would go, whatever happened to? Where did they go? Well, they were going to Regis and they were going to Metro. And so I was like, look, I just go over here and find out what they're doing. And you'd find out that so-and-so, Derek Fuller, who went to South High, is like fourth in Division II in assists and doing good things. And let's do a feature on Derek, and then when I did one for one school, the other school would call up and go, hey, we got a story. And we were putting them on the front page of the sports section.
So stories started coming to you. So you started out a year of grinding, finding the stories, and now the stories are coming to you.
Because these schools weren't getting any publicity at all.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, here's this guy giving them publicity. Well, I got a story for you. We got a kid who's 7'4". His brother, 7'6", Jim Lanier. This kid was 7'6", playing at DU.
Wow.
And he had a twin brother that played at UCLA.
Wow.
Then Colorado Christian would call me up. Hey, we got a kid who's 28 years old, just got out of, the service or something, and he's leading the league, averaging 29 points a game. Tom Murphy, I think was his name. And, then everybody had a story. It's like life. Everybody's got a story.
I believe that.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm good for like 3-4 stories a week. And then the full-time writers are kind of like, how is this dude getting on the front page almost every day? And he's not even a full-time guy. There's a little ego that goes on about getting on the front page. Like when I handed you that little thing for the wrapped up in the glass.
This lovely gift.
Yeah, but when I gave you...
And the other gift, Sam is one of the most generous guys. He's brought so many lovely artifacts that are going to live in our studio for, like an article from the 2000 Sydney Olympics that he wrote on the cover of the Rock Around News.
You want to be on the cover. And so to have a byline on the cover, like every week for 6-7 weeks, and eventually people start noticing at the top. If Woody Page wasn't noticing, and I knew that he was, the editor of the Denver Post, Gil Spencer, was like, who is this guy? He's not one of our regular writers, but he's always on the cover and writing good stories. So the end of 91, I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to have to go back to working for the insurance company because this ain't happening. I just kind of gave myself a year. I was just like, okay, if this don't work out. But they called me in the office in February of 92, and the editor, I was talking about the editor of the paper, Gil Spencer, was standing behind Woody's chair. We were in Woody's office. He said, we created a job for you. I'll just be clean. He said, don't screw me, but that's not the word he used. Don't me.
Well, this is a dirty show. This is like a very clean ep so far, so we could try to keep it clean.
I got
this will be the first one I'll say, made for kids. Yes, it's made for kids. This is absolutely made for
like
children.
This was a trap coming over here. I was like, man, they're trying to get me to go heel. It's Monday Night Raw. We're going to get Sam Adams to go heel.
No.
People are going to be watching and going, did he just say...
He's on the top rope, Mom. He's on the top rope.
He's on the top rope. He took off the elbow pad. The people's elbow is about to drop. Yeah, no. I actually I've done that one time.
The people's elbow?
No, gone heel.
Oh.
I've done the people's elbow before. It was long before it was the people's elbow.
That was your elbow back in the day.
Yeah. That was my thing. I grew up in Cleveland, man. We used to see championship wrestling on Saturdays on Channel 43, and there was this dude named Johnny Powers, and that was his big move, the elbow smash. And so when you're kids, you just go around, if you got in a fight with somebody and you just got them just like, bam, take that. So
that's awesome. Is that back in the days where wrestling was regional? It was okay.
So you had like Johnny Powers was the champion, but you had Bobo Brazil, this black dude with the really bad hair, and he used to do the headbutt. And so like when I was 5-6 years old, I used to headbutt my older cousins and have them crying. I was like, they were like almost men, and I was like 4 or 5, and I would just crawl up on them and just have them crying. Like, I didn't even care, because we thought wrestling was real, because our grandmother made us believe that wrestling was real. My grandmother took me to a wrestling match with my cousin one time down in the South. She lived in the South, they think wrestling, and you'd go to like this little...
They think it's foo-foo, right?
Oh, man, no. It's, man...
Sorry, I'm trying to... They're big into it in the South.
Okay. Big into it, and I mean, like grandmas are there, and they drag their grandchildren, and they be yelling at the wrestlers. There was this Bobo Brazil was fighting this dude Ox Baker, this big white dude with thick, snidely whiplash mustache and thick eyebrows. He just looked like a villain, and my grandmother loved Bobo Brazil because he was the great black hope, you know. And and Ox Baker would always like get him in the headlock and then use the thumb and, you know.
Ooh.
And then my grandmother got up. I'll never get this. I was with my cousin, and my cousin was trying to tell me we were just outside of Atlanta, and I had never been to a wrestling match before. My cousin was trying to tell me, we was like the same age, like 11 or 12. He's like, okay, man, grandma, she go crazy now. You better watch out, because if you sitting the closest to her, she might throw you, you know.
That's
and I was like,
funny,
what?
man.
I was like, what? And then she got up and her purse was on her wrist, and she was just like, and you know, like women who are bigger and they got that grizzle or whatever just hanging off the arm.
The ham hock, what do they call it?
Yeah. And so she got up and she had her purse and she went, come up there and I'll cut you, you know. And
was that a side grandma you'd never seen?
Like, no, I'd never seen that, man. And the guy, Ox Baker, was just like, shut up, lady. And I was just like, whoa, man. And then when grandma made that move, like my cousin told me, you'll go flying. You know, and she was walking toward the ring, and then like the security guy came up, sit down, lady. You know, she took it serious.
Wow.
Man. And then when I got back to Ohio, I was just like, I gotta watch wrestling, man, because that was crazy seeing it like right in front of me, and then seeing her react. And so I watch it every week, man. I watch it every week. And Johnny Powers, he was the good guy, and Dick the Bulldog Brower used to always pull the brass knuckles out and start punching on Johnny Powers and then put him back in Johnny Powers' ketchup coming from his, you know, I know it wasn't real blood, but we thought it was real blood. Right. And we watched it every week. It was like watching a soap opera, you know. You followed it every week, you know. Abdullah the Butcher throwing fire in the eyes of little Abner Osborne, my best friend in the world. I could call him right now and put him on speakerphone and go, remember that time Abdullah the Butcher threw fire at little Abner Osborne? He'll start cracking up, and then he'll go, nay, Abdullah, nay, because that's what the manager was saying to him, is trying to stop Abdullah. And Abdullah the Butcher was like some big 7-foot, you know, fat dude whose real name probably was Ray Johnson, but they gave him the name Abdullah the Butcher. And you believe these characters.
So I'm wondering, did growing up following wrestling and these characters and the stories behind the characters, whether true or whether made up, did that help or lay a foundation for then the storytelling you would apply to sports later in life?
I wouldn't say that, because
when you talk about like the Colorado athletes, I just draw that connection of like.
I mean, I never really like wondered. Like, I just kind of believed that they were who they were. I never really thought about like when it was over, or when the match was over and the show was over. What do they do? You know. Sure,
but they have like a story within the wrestling universe, right?
Yeah. I just knew that, you know. The Love Brothers didn't like Johnny Powers, and they brutalized him, and I cried that day. Like these two dudes called themselves the Love Brothers, and they wore like psychedelic pants and had the love beats and small glasses of that time, the 70s, and they called him Stumblebum Powers, and they interrupted a interview he was doing with Jack Reynolds and just mauled him and had him on the ground crawling away. And it was so funny because like the cameras would show this stuff, you know, and you just and look at him, and now Powers is crawling away, and you go, oh no, Johnny, don't crawl, man, fight back, Johnny, you know. And
that's hilarious.
Come on, man, you got to throw a punch or something, man. Come on, give him the elbow. Oh, they smashing the elbow, they stepping on the elbow, you know. Like, you know,
man.
So it was just like really this.
So when did you start playing sports yourself? Did you play sports growing up?
I tried, but I start like in the backyard playing basketball with my friend, my best friend Ralph, and we used to ABA ball, you know. And then we played football in the streets. We played baseball, not on a baseball diamond, but in a playground.
Yeah.
I was really good at baseball. I thought I was going to be a pitcher. And when I got to the 9th grade,
People's elbow gave out.
well, no. Actually, I tried out for the baseball team. We didn't have, our high school started at 9th grade. We didn't have freshmen. It was kind of like this rule. They didn't take freshmen on the varsity. And we didn't have like a JV or freshman team. But I went out anyway. And I mean, I was like super skinny back then, maybe 110 pounds. But I had a whip for an arm. And I'm left-handed. So, you know, how many lefties are at a premium. But they had me out in the outfield. They had me in right field. And we were doing this drill where you're supposed to hit the cutoff man. Ball comes out to me. I fire a strike to home plate. Now, guys that are trying out, everybody's on the field, they're like, whoa. Coach is like, I told you to hit the cutoff. Pulls me out of right field, takes me to a field on the side, calls a catcher, puts me on the mound, show me what you got. And I'm firing as hard as I can. And this dude's mitt is popping. And his name was Joe Colassa. I don't know if you watching, man. You probably, Joe Colassa. And he's going, come on, man. Harder, harder, harder. And I'm like, I mean, pop, pop. I mean, I'm making the glove pop.
Mm-hmm.
And our coach's last name was Chronic.
That's a sick last
He was
name.
also the driver's ed teacher. Bill Chronic. He was also the JV football coach, Bill Chronic. And he pulled me aside after I threw for maybe 10 minutes or so, and he pulled me aside and he said, the first cuts come out tomorrow and you're going to be on it. Just letting you know. And I was like, okay. Because freshmen didn't make the team anyway.
Right.
But he says, when I tell you to hit the cutoff man, you hit the cutoff man. And so the next day, it was all posted up. My name wasn't on there. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I ain't going out next year. I didn't forget that. So I went out for JV football the next year, and Coach Chronic was the coach. I went out to play wide receiver because we didn't throw the football. So I knew I was never going to get hurt. I never was going to catch a pass, but I knew on Fridays, the varsity and the JV walked around with their jerseys on, and the girls were like, oh. So, I was like, they're going to see me with a football jersey on. I'm going to look like a pencil wearing a jersey, but doggone it, I got one. And,
Number 2.
and I never forget, we were like third or fourth game. We used to play at Patrick Henry Field. And this particular game, we were playing Martin Luther King Vocational. Now that right there tells you that these are dudes that are probably in their 30s with a second chance in life. It just tells you.
Yeah.
Vocational. So it was like Martin Luther King, not Martin Luther King Junior High School. It was Martin Luther King Vocational. And these dudes looked like their front four looked like L.C. Greenwood, Mean Joe Green. They were like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had gray hair in their beard, you know, and they were all big. And we had a quarterback named Ricky Brown, who was about 6'4". He was well built, long hair. I think his parents were mixed because he was light skinned, and but he was very athletic. And they broke Ricky's collarbone.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I'm standing in behind two dudes, and Coach Chronic is like, we don't have a backup quarterback. You know, we don't throw the ball. And the one time Ricky goes to throw the ball, they mangle him. And Coach is looking for somebody, and I swear, one dude moved to the left, the other dude moved to the right, and I was in the middle, and he goes, Adams, you're in. Oh. Like, dude, if you think for 1 second that I even attempted to try to remember a play, I'm in it for the jersey.
Friday jersey guy.
And I go in the game and I'm in the huddle and everybody's looking at me and I'm looking at them like, oh, so this is what a huddle's like. You know, and I try to call the play. We get up to the line and I call a timeout. And I go to coach and I go, I can't remember the play. And he goes, I wing right 20 something. And I go back in and I wing right 20. And I look at the running back. His name was Archie. I said, Archie, I forgot to play. I'm about to call a timeout. He said, you can't call a timeout again. We just called a timeout. And I said, okay, give it to you on 3. And I got up to the line. And I went 1, 2, 3. And he got mangled, and it was 4th down. And when we rode the bus back, I sat next to Coach Chronic, and he was just like, you'll get it, you'll get practice, and you'll get it, and da 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 da. And I was like,
he's like 6 to 8 weeks. He's gonna be out for 6 to 8 weeks.
I was like, man, when we get back, when the bus gets us back to the school, I'm holding my retirement press conference. And I never went back out there, man.
Wow.
If I had known quarterbacks were going to get like $6-7 million to sit the bench, I would have been a little more diligent.
Right.
But yeah, that was the end of it. I went out for basketball my senior year, and I was the last player cut.
Well,
I jumped up and dunked in the layup line, and everybody was like,
I got laid out freshman year football by a kid that was way smaller than me, and I'm like, I am done. Like, this is my brain is going to take me further than my body, and I'm just going to accept it. And I started playing Ultimate Frisbee. We had a good Ultimate Frisbee team here in Boulder. And so it was like a bunch of kids quit their primary sport to go play Ultimate Frisbee. And you got like,
Frisbee?
Yeah, you got like 5 guys over 6 foot on the Ultimate field running around.
You just disappointed me, man. I just knew you had a whole bunch of high school basketball stories.
No, we stopped after freshman year and we just slang disc. But that was my end of my career too. I was like, nope, not getting my bell rung like that anymore. It was too much.
But when I got older and started covering sports and being in the locker room and being around these guys and knowing that there are a lot of people who think that they are dumb jocks. And I'm like, do you know what it takes to remember a playbook in football?
Wow. They're so smart. Quarterbacks in football.
And I always think about me not being able to comprehend one dumb play. Right. And I'm like, man, these dudes, you gotta know the plays.
It's a whole lot to remember.
They wouldn't be on the team if they didn't know the plays. And you see them carrying in their playbook.
Huge.
And you're like, you remember all that? Because you never know when the coach is going to pull one of those plays out. And you better be ready for it. So,
speaking of being ready for it, are you ready for these wings? We're going to go pull them off. It's time.
Chicken wing
time. If you want to head over and support the show, we'll try to record a Patreon for this.
Wings.
So, patreon.com/tolerable. And we're going to try to do this clean. Signature station identification clean. You're listening to 91.1. Oh, shoot. Was that another plane? We'll be right back.
Okay.
We're back. We're live. It's the After Hours show. We've got full stomachs. How are those wings, Sam?
Man, those wings are awesome. I was like, wow, a white dude can make wings like this? Woo!
I mean, it's like low key. It's the weirdest place. It's this weirdest speakeasy for wings because you have to do a podcast and you don't pay for the wings, but not bad wings, right?
No, not bad. And when they go with Cheez-its, white cheddar Cheez-its, I mean, that's a meal. Chicken wings with white cheddar Cheez-its and Sam Adams. Beer.
I hope I can pull that for the sound drop for the board. I have this collection of fun little sound drops. I got Nick Dean on here.
Full circle though, bunch of illegals.
And bunch of fun little sound drops. But for you, I like the man. I want to pull that man. That's fun. So randomly we stumbled onto the topic of trading cards and sports memorabilia. And you mentioned your buddy that owns a card shop in Aurora and how he's a security guard at Ball Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know who you're talking about because I was out to sushi with my lovely bride-to-be long time, several months ago, telling her about how my friend Sam, other producer of the show, we went to the Game 7 Minnesota Timberwolves when we looked on Ticketmaster and saw that these 2 seats right behind the Timberwolves fence were open. And I knew that Ticketmaster stopped selling tickets an hour after the game starts. So I kept taking screenshots, kept refreshing. Those seats never sold. So we went down to those seats and watched Game 7 right behind the Minnesota bench. And I'm talking about this at the sushi dinner. Large gentleman with a beard who looks awfully familiar to me goes, "Hey, son, how'd you manage to sneak down there without anyone finding you? I just asked because I'm the head of floor security at Ball Arena. And I go, oh my God. Like, I'm not going to be able to pull this trick again.
His name is Michael, and he's the coolest dude.
What a nice guy.
He's got so many stories.
I can only imagine. How many years has he been there?
Oh, gosh. Decades. I'll just say decades.
And on the floor, too, for a day. Yeah.
Yeah, decade.
Wow.
Before that beard became Grizzly Adams-ish.
Well, you know, that's someone that I would, in a weird, that's the kind of guy I'd love to have on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone that I would never get to.
I think I can make that happen.
I hope we get to, because he seemed like a great gentleman.
I'll make that happen.
It's funny how I've discovered, I was a young kid and I felt like I needed to control my environment because my parents got divorced and yada, yada, yada. As I've gotten older, and this prefrontal lobe, they tell me it's supposed to be building and, you know, finalizing, I've let the universe drive a little more.
Okay.
Both because I felt like I haven't had the capacity to try to control it, and just naturally. And man, has good things come my way. Like these weird little these talking to you, man. Like that's a result of manifesting, letting the universe drive. Truly.
And see, I'm an old soul. You're a young soul. I'm an old soul. And for me, it's just like, really? You got years to go, bro.
Lots.
But I did a show in his backyard.
Did you?
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Yeah, I did a show in that guy's backyard.
A comedy show.
Yeah, a comedy show.
That's awesome.
Brought my little sound system, and he had guests over. A lot of them were security dudes.
That's awesome.
Because it's not just he does more than that venue.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
He's also like at Fiddler's Green, and so he had a bunch of security guys over there, and their families and wives, and I'm in his backyard doing a show, man. He's got a nice big spacious backyard. Them cars have been good to him.
That's good. I'm glad.
Players wanted too, right?
I'm glad. Those guys work their ass off, man. I hope the players are good to those people.
He's got shoes from different players that are signed.
I went to like a youth camp growing up, basketball camp, and Shaq's shoe was there. Not Shaq, but Shaq's shoe. And I remember holding up to my arm and being like, what the?
Shaq wears like a 22, man.
It was like, wow.
Shaq can complete a 12-step program in 2. 1, 2, I'm done. Cured.
I always find it funny, dudes that big. I'm a big guy myself, 3 standard deviation. That big of a dude dating like a 5'2" woman, I just don't see it. I've dated a 5'2" woman, and forget it. Pick him up.
Hey, baby, you want to dance?
Yeah, fair enough.
Hold on, I'm gonna make you twerk.
You're right. I'm overthinking it, Sam. I'm overthinking it.
Shaq like twerk. Shaq like twerk. You seen me do,
man? That's funny.
Shaq and Stephen A. and
I love your Stephen
Charles
A.
Barkley, and
he's got to go Stephen A. Yeah, absolutely.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's hard to do. That's why I tell people I don't do impressions. I do interpretations, because if I try to do
you can't. Yes.
I mean, like people like Jay Farrow and Jamie Foxx is an amazing.
Oh, he's
impressionist.
so talented.
People don't realize just how good he is as an impressionist. But those guys, I mean, like, they're impressionists. I just do interpretations. When I try not to do the impression is when I sound the best. I was playing golf with a guy the other day, and he said something. I had interviewed Charles Barkley. I had caddied for Charles Barkley once, and excuse me, and Charles.
That must be a frustrating.
Charles hit a ball, and it was a worm burner. And he was like, run, ball, run like a free slave, and so I told that line to the guy that I was golfing with the other day. I told it to him years ago. And so the other day we're playing Willis Case, and he hits a worm burner, and he's like, and this dude, white dude from New York in his 60s, run like a freed slave. It's like it didn't. And I was like, hey man, You can't be trying to say what I said. Nah, if you try to say what I said, it's not going to come out the way I said it. And he goes, dude, that was like spot on. I was like, yeah, because I wasn't trying to do it. But, you know, like Stephen A., he just yells. So it's almost, Captain Crunch is the greatest cereal of all time. You know, and you got to like have
You have to have something to be mad about.
Yeah, and you got to throw some New York. It's got to have it. Of all time. 27 Super Cereal Bowl championships, for crying out loud. That man should be promoted to major. You know.
Dallas Cowboys.
Can you do Skip? Do you ever do Skip or no?
No, but I can do Shannon talking about Skip. Everything was going good till Skip put me out. I was doing good. I was just saying everything that everybody wanted me to say. I was saying everything, but everybody wanted me to say. But then Skip came along. Skip tried to make me feel bad. Tried to hurt my feelings. Gonna tell me that I'm not that good. Tom Brady better than me. I'm the best. Skip, he nothing.
This is a good after hours topic.
I crush Skip. I put Skip in between my bicep and my tricep.
Shannon,
squish.
Maybe
like
you can
Squish.
you can speak to this, but doesn't it take like 4 or 5 buttons to go live on Instagram, Shannon? It seems like an involved process. I've never gone live. It's too many buttons. That was crazy.
I was having breakfast a couple weeks ago with Gary Zimmerman, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, the Pro Bowler, Broncos left tackle. I was up in Oregon for work, and he lived in the town that I was in. And it's funny because when he played, we never, the offensive lineman didn't talk.
He was part of that group of that era where the offensive line, if you don't know, they were told they had an inside deal where like, we don't talk to the media.
I had just started covering the team at that time. The only thing Gary would say to me was, hey, Spike, you guys got 1 minute before the locker room closes. He used to call me Spike because he thought I looked like Spike Lee. That's all he used to say to me every day. Hey, Spike, 1 minute and the locker room closes. But we had breakfast and I couldn't shut that dude up. It's amazing. Like when you get off the field and these guys are just people. And so he goes, what do you think about Shannon? And we just busted out laughing. It was nothing and I go, yeah, man, we knew Shannon when he didn't know how to speak English. Hope you're watching, Sharpie. Because in the locker room, it's a whole different place than behind the microphone on first take.
Absolutely.
In the locker room, he's like, you gonna give me that? You ain't gonna give me that? You know I hate that. You know I hate that. I don't want to do that. No, man. That was my bill. That was him. Saying,
dude, that guy's still a unit. How old is he? How old is Shannon Sharp?
Sharpie's
he must be under 7% body fat. It's crazy.
Is 55 now, maybe 56.
Wow.
I think he just turned 56 in June.
Probably just turned 56.
Wow. Yeah. That man, he doesn't look.
I like playing heels.
I mean,
that's what he said. I like the playing heels. You gotta stay in shape. You gotta work out your biceps. They lead to your triceps. And you don't want to skip your workout. Sometimes you got to skip breakfast, or sometimes you got to skip lunch, and every now and then I skip dinner. But I like chicken. I like my chicken smothered. Sometimes I like it fried. Sometimes I like it baked. Sometimes I just chicken with asparagus.
Oh, dude! If Shannon came on the pod, I'll make him asparagus on the side. I smoke damn good asparagus, Shannon. If you ever come on top shelf,
other guys can like do them. If it was on the money, for the money, and somebody said, okay, we need you to do Shannon Sharp, and I would clear my voice up and like you said, we need you to do Shannon Sharp 2 days from now.
Yes.
I would put together something and you'd be like, man, that was pretty good. That was pretty good, but when I'm just around,
yeah.
Just, but when you're not, that's why I would come that over my head.
I am a big fan.
To, translate it. I think he said he would have caught the ball, but John threw it over his head.
Close enough.
Did this is bad. Did the white reporters come to you for the translation, or what happened there?
Adam Schefter was writing for, like, we were adversaries. Like, Adam wrote for the Rocky Mountain News when I came on writing for the Post.
That's right. I keep forgetting Adam started in Denver.
And then when Adam left the News to go to the Post, the News hired me.
Wow. So you replaced Adam when he vacated to go to the Post.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dang.
There's nothing better than Adam Schefter. He knows everyone's phone number. Like, he's another dude that I need like 3 or 4 beers and I'll nail him because I know from being around him.
Well, he seems like nobody works harder than him. Who was the reporter?
Intense dude, man. He's an intense dude.
Woj, yeah. So Woj retired this season, so he's not.
Woj got tired of dropping bombs.
Yeah, no more bombing.
I'm just sitting there on the sofa, just watching TV, and all the boom, a Woj bomb. What the Woj bomb? Adam. I don't say that I know him. I didn't know him as a kid and all, but it just seems like he was born to do what he's doing.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
And I know from going up against him, like, what he's doing is what he'll
eat your lunch.
truly
Yeah.
I ain't eat my lunch.
Well, okay. Well, I'm saying on the you.
No, I'm being serious. He didn't eat my. Call
Not
Adam,
you, Sam.
Call Adam Schefter and ask him who took his lunch money. Took it. No, we had some intense. Covering that Broncos beat is like the most intense beat. Well, now, because the paper thing is not the same, but the Rocky Mountain News and Denver Post, that was an intense battle, and the Denver Broncos beat was right in the middle of it. Like, people were buying the paper based on
who's writing about the Broncos. Yeah,
and Adam had an in within the organization, and then they put me on. Like, think about it, they hired me, and I literally came from covering high school to all of a sudden I'm on the biggest beat there is, and I was the Robin. On the beat, there's the lead and then the backup. So the lead guy gets all the news stories and the backup guy gets all the sidebars and stuff. And so it's that Batman Robin type of thing, Green Hornet Kato type of thing. So when I first came on the beat, I was the Robin, but our Batman was, and Adam was the Robin
for the Post,
for the news.
Or sorry,
but he started to make all these inroads with people in the organization, and they were giving him scoops and stuff, and it was just a matter of time before he became the Batman. And
is it like comedy where there's so much politics to the industry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And you see people, coaches and people in the front office and stuff, and you see them and they smile, hey. But behind your back, they're telling him and not telling you. And then you open up the paper the next day, and then your boss is wanting to know, how come we didn't have it? Well, the Batman for my paper was just terrified of Adam and his partner.
Wow. And
so the next year they made me Batman. Black man, black man. I'm just like, wait a minute, how did I go from high school to being the lead on the beat? And
you weren't the hero that you thought you needed. You were the hero that the city needed.
I was the hero. I was the hero that
you step up for the city when the city needs you.
I was the hero that the Denver Post needed, because the Rocky Mountain News just kept whacking over the head with these Broncos stories. So what you got to do is find somebody who's going to, in the organization, pretty much, who's going to watch your back. And I'll just say I had, I went as high as one could go for a source. And once I had that source on my side, I was never worried about the other paper. So getting scooped, it used to be the news was scooping the Post like all the time. Well, once I got my source,
you're about even
out. And then I left town. I got hired by the Charlotte Observer. I left town for a year. And during that year that I was gone, Adam left the News and went to the Post. And the News was like, who can we get to, let's see if Sam Adams will come back. And I was like, yeah, I'll come back. And I did. That I wasn't back home 3 months, and that whole Bronco new uniform that they ended up winning the Super Bowl and stuff. I'm the one that broke all that story, man. I'll never forget. Adam Schefter almost lost his mind because he had to follow it up. No, he didn't want to follow it up.
Well,
and then I broke the story about what they were going to look like. So and I was like this. He wanted to kill me.
So in an industry that is hyper politicized, like comedy, like sports journalism, do you think that the competition backed with that, political lens is healthy? Do you think it makes people better at the job?
I do, because I can tell that story about Adam in the uniform, and in the grand scheme of things is in the moments that it was happening, it was intense. But if it doesn't make you better, then something's wrong. I mean, I would come to the Bronco facility every day knowing that the dude across from me was good. How good? Well, he's making like $9 million a year now for ESPN. That good. He wasn't $9 million a year good back then, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that the dude, what the other person is capable of. And when you talk about it with comedy, who's good, who's really good, who's ascending and all, and if they don't make you better, then something's wrong. I mean, you're never too old to learn, and for me, I got in the game late.
Yeah, how old were you when you did your first set?
41. And I'm sure there's somebody who can say, "Well, I started comedy when I was 50." Okay, good for you. I'm just saying, I was 41 when I started, and so. And Kev was like, at the time, Kev was 104.
Shout out Dr. Kev. He's going to come on the pod. Him and John are those are my Rushmore type Denver scene guys where it's like, I got to, I'll drive to them, pick them up, take them here, take them back, whatever it takes to get Dr. Kev and John Novosad on the pod. Those are...
Hey, you got Sam Adams on your show? I'll remove his spleen. There's another dude that I can't do it voice when I want to.
I don't know if you know Dr. Kevin Fitzgerald, but he was on the Animal Planet for like a decade, and he's a veterinarian and a stand-up comedian. Just a hilarious dude. My favorite part of seeing him is when he'll be booked for like kids shows sometimes, and before the show he'll come to us and be like, "Yeah, these fucking kids, I don't want to do fucking kids shows."
And then he shows them 30 minutes of polar bears doing their thing.
He's like, "What's this paw?" I love Kev, the man.
But no, if I watch everybody. I watch the younger comics. Sometimes I show up, nobody even knows I'm there, and I just show up.
Like the new talent night downtown.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna go Tuesday and watch. Just seeing them do the contest. And being on the show,
New Faces is coming to the end finals this week. So
I've gotten to see a number of new faces that I haven't. And, it's important to, what are people talking about? What are the younger people talking about? I mean, man, next January, I'm Medicare, man. I'm 65.
No way, you're 65.
I'll be 65, man. Man, I've been getting so many dates the last couple of weeks, man, because these ladies that work for insurance brokers, they want to meet you for coffee so they can help you get your Medicare plan.
Oh, do they get kickback on that?
I don't know how they get money. I know that
they're getting something.
In my mind, I'm like, girl, I know you just don't want to have coffee with me for the sake of telling me about, come on, what you get? What you get, but I'm taking these dates, so I'm just like, wow, I know. Let's meet here.
Well, Sam, you look damn good for 65. Come on, man.
I'm gonna dress up.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, how you doing?
Come on.
Yeah, no, really, I am 65. Well, 64. I'll be 65 in January. What can you do for me?
That's funny.
Yeah, part A or part B. I'm good with either one. You can be the part B to my part A. I don't care. I just, But yeah, it's like I'm going through this phase, and but also watching people do what I do, and they're much younger. And for me, it's don't get caught up in what could have been and wishing I was younger. It's like, for me, it's like trying to show that, yeah, I'm older, but I still can, instead of going, when you get old, you can't. A lot of older comics are like, yeah, I remember, and like, I'm trying, like, no, I'm 64, but in comedy, like 21.
Right.
21, 22.
You're just reaching the prime.
I'm like 21
as
22.
far as that comic's concerned, right?
Yeah. So, trying to stay young and relevant, and, it ain't easy. Denver's got, we got a lot of
top 5 scene in the nation, dude.
Yeah.
Top 5 scene in the nation.
Yeah, every
for
time I
sure.
go someplace, everybody's like, where you from? I go, Denver. Oh, man. Denver's. I was like, yeah. Yeah, if I were you, if you were coming to Denver, make sure you get a round trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's
make sure you get the round trip ticket. Don't come here. Everybody wants to come here and start. I'm like,
well, because
I watched you. No, you might want to get a round trip ticket.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, we're a hub for Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone that's in, Utah, Nevada, out to Kansas and Nebraska, Iowa, this is the biggest place that they can get a chance to make it in a scene. So it makes sense to me why we get so many people from that area.
But it's for me.
It's tough.
It's tough.
You better know that this is a 15-year game before you're even competent.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be a really good comic, that's what you better believe. I think
that's why I say, I look at it like, it's not me being 64. It's me. And I've been doing it for a living for 15 years now. 2009 is when I started doing it for a living, because the newspaper closed.
Right.
My news closed.
Right.
There's some people who think that I quit my day job. No, the day job quit me. Big difference. You walk in and they go, hey, tomorrow's your last day. Get your stuff and get out. That's different than, I think I'm going to quit my job. I quit my day job to become a sports writer. That was different. But this here, if you're going to quit your job to become a comedian, I wish you good luck.
So you're looking at me, young stand-up comedian. Started in college, worked a door guy job in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I went to college.
I know Cedar
Penguins.
Rapids.
You ever played Penguins?
Yes. Jeff Johnson. I don't know if he's still there.
He sold it to the owner I worked from, but the time I worked there,
yes.
It's since closed. Basement club, kind of like downtown.
Mm-hmm. My man used to go there all the time. Long-haired dude.
TJ Miller.
No, man. He used to... he used to play the guitar and had long white hair and wore glasses. Every time he came through, man, he sold out. Oh,
man.
Yeah, he sold.
I'm embarrassed.
He had merchandise galore.
Damn.
I could see his face.
I'll keep going. You'll come to you.
Tom and Bob show.
Oh, okay.
Bob and Tom and Bob.
Yep.
Bill and Joe. I jumped on the counter and twerked on the Bob and Tom show.
Fuck yeah.
But this dude, he was well known in that region and always came through Penguins. Gosh.
A weird story about Penguins. I'm watching the interview with John Mulaney. It won the Emmy this year on Netflix. John Mulaney and Dave Letterman. The interview, 45-minute interview, about 30 minutes in an interview. John's talking about playing Radio City Music Hall and how, yeah, I was a little arrogant. I did think I was going to play this venue someday. And he goes, but the venue's the venue, whether it's Radio City Music Hall or it's Penguins in Cedar Rapids. And I paused Netflix and I'm like, what the fuck kind of drive-by is that? From Radio City to Penguins? It was crazy. I'm like, okay, cool. And, you talk to lots of comics that have if they've been in the scene for 15 years and they've toured the Midwest, they've been a road comic, they know about Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does.
Yeah, no, like Penguins, Cedar Falls. I've done shows at Cedar Falls.
Yeah.
Jokers, I think it is in Cedar Falls.
Well, so I started back then in like 2018, 2019. Graduated 2020, pandemic graduate. And so I had this chronic pain mixed with the pandemic. And so I needed to get my back fixed, got my double spinal fusion. So then I was able to I couldn't go to an open mic because I couldn't sit in a chair for 45 minutes to wait. I couldn't stand up for 5 minutes after that. It was horrible. So I got this procedure at 25 and, now I'm 27. And so I've been doing it now, about a year, 2 years now. And I got up at the mothership when I went to Austin, did open mic, got a compliment. And yeah, it's just, I'm in that infancy phase where it's like, I might be a 2-year comic, I might be a 6. It doesn't matter. But I know I've got 10 more years before I'm anywhere half decent competent. And I start wondering, it's like, man, I wish I could.
But you never really know when it's going to click.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why don't you speak to that?
There is no... it's not like you got to go the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th to then go to college. In comedy, it's like, man, some people after the 4th grade, they go from 4th to 10th grade and then 10th grade to magna cum laude. I mean, it's like it just...
I mean, that's kind of what it was like for me.
Clicks.
Like reps wise, I hadn't done the reps, but I had been writing... consistently writing over the course of 6 years. That was premeditated by another 6 years of sponge learning of the art. Mm-hmm. So it's like, while I haven't done 12 years of sets, this has been my obsession for 12 years. And that type of, meticulous eating away at it has made it so that when I got a guest spot at South for a headliner that came through, I rose to the moment and didn't bomb for those 5 minutes. And I had no business not bombing for those 5 minutes. Reps wise, I should have ate for the whole 5 minutes. Should have just ate.
You can cuss it from me.
I should have just ate dick for the whole 5 minutes and I didn't. And it was weird. And that made me like, oh, okay. So maybe this work in the dark is worth something. Because you go to open mics and people are like, well, if you're not open mics, you're not doing it.
Yeah. Well, when I first got started, my mentor said it takes you 5 years to find your voice. But some people have their voice a lot sooner. Some people just, you ever watch Anthony Crawford? I'm sure you do.
I do.
You were there a couple nights ago
Anthony.
when we did when he first started out, he needed time to find his voice. But it's like when you see people when you see them on stage and they're the same as if they're sitting around, they're comfortable with their voice. They're comfortable being themselves.
I haven't gotten that. I can objectively tell you I haven't crossed that mark yet.
There's a relaxation that comes with that. Not so much I don't care what the people think.
I've gotten a little dose of that relaxation, but man, I'm not fully into it yet. But I'll get there. But I know exactly what you're describing because I've felt it for moments.
When I watched him the other night, I was just like, that he could have told them, like those stories that he told, that could have been him across the street on a bar stool.
Yeah. And that's how you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great metric. That's a great way to put it.
Because it brings a level of calm within you that when you go out in front of that audience, you're just like, I'm just me.
I had Steve Vanderplug on a while back, and I think Steve's voice on stage is like Steve's voice off stage. And I'm talking about it, he's like, I don't think I've quite found it yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. For you to say that and me know you and see you perform and think that you found your voice, as you perform and say, I haven't found it. It's like, wow. Are we always just searching for that comfortability?
I mean, that's the when you don't feel like you're acting. And I mean, I still kind of struggle with that. Like sometimes I'm just like, I was acting like I wasn't being me. But, the last couple of years in particular, I just go out and You know, the other night I go out there and tell you know what, I was going to tell y'all 3 stories. I don't even know which ones. You're not worried about being perfect. You're not worried about making a mistake. You're not worried. And that's the thing. Worrying about being perfect. I think a lot of younger comics are like trying to be perfect in some kind of way. And then when you come off, you feel like you made mistakes and well, just be yourself. Do you worry about that when you're going to the store or when you're doing this or that, this and that? No, you just do it. You know, if I flub a word, I flub a word. Just got to be quick. And
sometimes, I'll be honest, I'm the sound guy. I get to watch the set more than a lot of the door people do. The best sets are when you are naturally allowing yourself to make those mistakes because the crowd feels that you're being your fullest version of you. And even though it's not perfect, it's funnier. Yeah. Yeah, especially when you got a good comeback for your mistake. And they know you made a mistake, but you come back with something. Yes. And that's my favorite. It's a bigger laugh. Yeah. I love that. So, nobody's perfect. So don't try to be. It's a tough art form where there's like, you can look up to so many people, especially now, like the access I have as a young comic to the greats and what they think about the art form is unparalleled to what it's ever been before. I can go on a podcast and listen to someone talk about, how they carved out their first 5 years, and that wouldn't be accessible to someone who started in the 80s. Yeah. But now maybe I've got more people that I compare to. So, that's a great reminder of like, no, it is, you don't get to pick. There's no path. Everybody's path is going to be different. Well, I think the business of stand-up is so complicated that we forget how simple it really is from a performance standpoint. Yeah. Just forget. Speak to that. 17 years ago, this date, I was in Colorado Springs at Pikes Peak Center, not working, watching Bill Cosby with an invitation to see him after he was doing 2 shows, doing matinee shows, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And after the 2 o'clock show, which I attended, I was to go to the security desk and his manager was going to, I keep looking at this sofa, man. I think I threw this sofa out back in 2003. Yeah, that's funny because I grew up on this sofa, Sam. Nice try. I know. That's why I've been looking. I'm like, this looks like the sofa. I want to take a picture and send it to my son. Didn't we throw this over the balcony on East Yale, not too far from here? Oh, you funny with it. I'm gonna next time I'm working, I'm gonna show you a picture of my son laying on the sofa, like and you're gonna go, I'm sorry, son. I don't know. I was supposed to tell you about Bill Cosby. I'm just like, this looks like my sofa. It's the same color and everything, dude. Butt mark and everything. Did Jake Jab sell you this? No, I honestly, that is our family sofa. I legit grew up taking naps on that sofa. When I show you, I believe you. You're gonna be like, oh man, maybe it is. We all grew up on the same. So anyway, I go and Cosby's manager, and you've heard me tell part of this story. Yeah, before. I love this story. Please, because now I tell people it's like, so I go into the dressing room and I I'm in the dress. It's just me and Bill Cosby, and I can't even tell the story because 90 minutes with Bill Cosby alone just did he get you too? No, it's like but the true story is he invited me. I wrote a column about him, and we did the interview on the phone. What was the reason he had some sports connection, right? Well, yeah, he's from Philadelphia, and the Rockies are playing the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs that year. That's the year that the Rockies went to the World Series. And their first opponent was the Philadelphia Phillies, and at the time, the Rocky Mountain News and Denver Post, they were doing these comparisons, Will Smith versus
the fray.
Chris Rock.
Yeah, well, something, something from Denver versus something from Philadelphia.
That makes sense, yeah.
Philly cheesesteak versus Rocky Mountain oysters. Stupid stuff. That's what my paper was doing. And they were like, Sam, you got to come up with something, and I was like, no, I ain't doing nothing like that. And they were like, well, because my column was high in its visibility, a lot of people read my column. So they were like, we got to get you to do something. So I had to think of something, and while I'm sitting at the desk thinking, I'm going through the paper, and I see that Bill Cosby's doing this show in Pikes Peak Center in Colorado Springs that weekend, and I was like, wonder if I can get Bill Cosby. He's from Philadelphia. That would be better than any of this other crap that they're doing, because at that time, it was
Bill Cosby
cool.
was a legend back
At
then,
that time.
folks.
Oh,
Kids, if you're listening.
He's still a legend. It used to be, hey. Now it's, hey. But you could say Bill Cosby. And for me, as a comedian, I was like 5 years in. And because I was working clean, people were like see me after a set and go, oh, we really enjoyed you, and you're so wholesome and clean. You remind us of Bill Cosby. Don't say that now. And so, so it was kind of like
It was a hero to you.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up listening to Bill Cosby. My mom would have me do work, chores on Saturday morning, and then she'd have me sitting in our living room area, and she'd put on like Bill Cosby albums. And it didn't make me aspire to be a comedian in any way. But it was something about hearing this dude. He would talk, and then people would laugh. And it just seemed cool. I didn't know what he was talking about sometimes, but I just knew when he talked, people laughed. So now you flash forward, and I called Chuck Morris, who, the concert promoter, and I said, Chuck, if you were going to book Bill Cosby, how would you get him? And he's like, well, you want to know? I said, yeah, because I'd like to get him for my column. We're doing these stupid comparisons, and if I can get Bill, he's a big Philly sports fan. And so Chuck got me the number to Cosby's people, and I called. And his secretary, Kim, said, I'll give him the information. She didn't say he'd call me back or anything. And I was like, well, I did all I could do. I did my due diligence. And they were actually playing. The Rockies and Phillies were on TV at the time. About 30 minutes later, the Rockies win the game. My phone rang. I pick it up. It's Kim. She says, hold on. Here's Mr. Cosby. And I'm like, what? And then it was like silence for like 15 seconds. And so I thought maybe I need to speak first. So I was like, hello, Mr. Cosby. And there was another 5 seconds or so of silence. And then I was like, Mr. Cosby, shut up! He just like, shut up! And I was like, whoa, damn, maybe I should just hang up. And then he started laughing. I'm watching the game and it's over and your team beat my team, and I don't like when my team loses, but your team is a very clean cut team. I like the players on the team, and I like the manager. He seems like a decent person, and he just goes on for like 10, almost 15 minutes. I don't ask a question. I've got my tape recorder rolling, and I got my pen pad, so I'm getting everything he's saying, but it's almost like he knew what I was calling for. You're calling to ask me about this baseball series, and he's just going in all different directions, man. The manager's such a good guy, and he's got these players playing well, but when you play in Colorado, the altitude, I don't know why the ball goes where it goes, and I'm just like, oh, dude, let me say something, And so he's talking, and I'm like, recorder's going, I'm good. But then the little voice in my head is like, dude, if you don't tell him you do stand-up, you're an idiot. So when he finishes, I said, Mr. Cosby, can I tell you something? He's like, what? Like, I want to hang up. But I said, hey, I've been doing comedy for about 5, maybe 6 years. And he says, oh, are you coming to my show? And I was like, no, I'm supposed to cover a Bronco game. The Broncos are playing the Chargers that Sunday. And I'll never forget this. He goes, oh, man, don't go to that game. The Chargers are going to kill them. Come see me. I'll leave you a ticket. Bring your pen and pad. I'll give you a lesson. And then his secretary jumped on the line, took my information. And I went and told my sports editor that I was going to be ill on Sunday. So, yeah, hey, Barry, I don't think I'm going to feel good on Sunday. Like, who does that? And so, yeah, you might want to get somebody else to write a column on Sunday. I don't think I'm going to feel good. And so I wrote the
and it's not related to Cosby.
Yeah.
Why he's not feeling well.
Yeah. I hadn't had that drink yet.
Sorry, I had to make
I
it.
hadn't had that drink yet. But I feel like he's going to put a little something in my water.
The people.
To put the people bill in the pudding. So I went to Colorado Springs. I went to the 2:00 show. Side note, the Broncos lost 41-3.
How do you know?
So I go to the security desk, and this guy named Steve comes and gets me and takes me. And I thought it was going to be like one of those radio station deal where like a bunch of people win the opportunity to meet the artist. And so you get back there and there's like 30, 40 people.
Take a picture.
And then he comes over. Oh, yes, nice to meet you. I remember the call. Yes, I do. Well, no, it was just the two of us.
Wow.
It was just the two of us.
Wow.
And the game was on the television. The Bronco Charger game was on the television. And I walked in, and he told me to have a seat. And so the TV was across the room, and he was on a sofa laying sideways. And he goes, so you're supposed to be at the game? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, don't look. And what do you do when somebody tells you don't look? Isn't your natural reaction to go,
yeah.
So as soon as he said that, I looked, and there was this running back for the Chargers named Michael Turner, and he literally was running for a touchdown in that moment. And Bill Cosby goes, see, I can tell right now I can't talk to you. You don't listen. I told you don't look, and you look, and now your team is getting obliterated. And, because he ran and made the score like 41-3. And but it was a really bad start. And then we just, like, for the first 5 minutes or so, man, I just sat there while he was talking. I was like a little 3-year-old, man. Like, my feet were dangling like I was in a high chair, and it took me a while to slip. Like, I had to go, wait a minute, he's 70, I'm 47, man up. Quit being in awe and man up. And so finally, I'm like playing like reporter, and I'm like, so how'd you get into comedy? Man, I don't want to talk about that's a long time ago. I don't want to talk about how I got into comedy. And then these people, Jamie Foxx, D.L. Hughley, talking about sticking a dick in the ear. I'm like, what? And he's just going on and on and on about the comics at that time, the high-level comics. And then I swear he did this. And to this day, I still see him doing this. Like, I'm sitting over here, and he had moved to across the room to where I can see him. And he goes, I'm still the king. And I'm thinking, I don't remember saying that you weren't. But in that moment, I just was like, man, egos. Oh, wow. He's like, hey, man, all these young dudes thinking they're, the challengers to my title. I'm still, but the way he like I literally had to look up, like, is it up there? Is it written? Like,
on
is
the
that the
ceiling.
11th commandment up there on the ceiling, And I thought, okay, I felt like I was like ready to go. I was just like, I literally wanted to say, well, I should be going now, But then he like kind of flipped and he was like, let me tell you about comedy, man. It's so simple. It's a tripod. You think, you write, you perform. Get your pad out and just start writing this stuff down. You think, you write, you perform. It's a tripod. And it really is that simple. You think, you write, you perform. So he kind of settled into the lesson that he promised to give me, and he was like, let's just take some situations. Now, this man that plays for your team, the Broncos, the running back, what's his name? Travis Henry. He's got 8 children by 8 different women. So let's examine this. Is he Mormon? And he starts going into all this stuff. And I was just like, but he's trying to tell me you got to look at both sides. You have to look at all sides. You can't just, and so I still have like the notes at home. I still have the stuff that I wrote down. But I also saw him be really mean to a woman that had walked in who was working, asked if he wanted some food. And he was really mean to her. And the way he talked to her, like, he asked what they had, and she said, oh, we have, she was all excited, oh, we have fine Mexican cuisine. And he's like, what is fine Mexican cuisine? That ain't nothing but rice and beans and cheese. Get out of here, and I could see her eyes welling up. And, but then he turned to me and go, now see, and it was kind of like a half smile. She'll come back, and when she comes back, she'll probably have somebody with her, and they won't be talking about no rice and beans and cheese. They'll have something I can eat. And she came back like 5 minutes later with some dude who said, we have chicken breast, and we can prepare the chicken breast, and we can have some asparagus. And he was like, okay, I have the chicken breast. I'd like you to slice it. He was all particular and everything. And it's like, how did he know that she would come back with somebody else? And I'm like, because he probably does this all the time. That's why, So I got to see all
the sides.
I got to see a number of sides. There's one side I didn't see.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember. My brother-in-law, I got to tell on him, man. My brother-in-law is a big-time legal dude. And so we took a picture, me and Bill. We took a picture before I left. And when I left the Pikes Peak Center, I think I worked Looney's that evening. I think I was an opener at Looney's that evening, but I was on cloud 9. But when I left the Pikes Peak Center, I called my mother. I said, Mama, you ain't going to believe this. I was just with Bill Cosby. And she was like, I don't believe it. And I said, well, I'll send you a picture and then you'll believe it. So I had like an 8x10 made and sent it to her. And she was, so she had it framed. Apparently she had it framed. And, older women, they have pictures all over the place, so apparently she placed this photo in between grandkids and nieces and nephews. And pictures. And the reason why I know, because my brother-in-law, we were talking one day, he goes, so you met Bill Cosby? And I was like, well, yeah. I'm like, how do you know? Because Mama A, he called my mother Mama A, and Mama A got your picture, in there with everybody else. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think she was going to put it, I thought she would just kind of put it, like in a scrapbook or something. I was surprised to know it was in with the family. So then I go home, probably about a year later, and I see some of my cousins, some of their kids, some of my nieces and nephews, And then I see Bill Cosby's face, and then I see some other nieces and nephews. And I'm like, Mama, why you got me covered up? Like, she covered my face up. But you see him, like, standing
Prominently
out.
displayed.
And I was like, Mom, why you got me covered up? And she goes, well, they know who you are. And I was like, you got some dude that ain't in our family sticking out amongst everybody who's in our family. So she cherished that picture. But years later, when he got in trouble, I go home. I was like, Mama, where's that picture of me and Bill Cosby? And she was like, don't even ask. She got rid of that picture.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite a story to end on. I think you will enjoy this. You have a bit that you went very viral for about True Color. And the theme of this show is, I think, in the same vein of that bit, in that I've lived my life in this large physical form. And I get, people come up to me all the time. Hey, can I get a couple inches? How's the weather up there? Things like this all the time. And I've learned that there are tall people that are kind and short people that are kind and all around. And that these vehicles, these meat sacks we're in, are just that. They're vessels that we drive every day. The people we are, the character that we bring forth towards other people, our actions, so much more important than the vehicles we drive. But we get judged more than anything else on the vehicles we drive. So after a long form conversation, have you heard of England? The silly little country we broke away from? They have this silly little thing, they do knighting. Well, here at Top Shelf Studios, after a long form conversation, I'll be giving you a heart height for you, Sam Adams.
A heart height.
How tall do you stand physically?
I am 6'1".
Sam Adams, I heart height thee 6'10". That is a big heart. That's going to be a lot to bear. I hope you got support and core strength.
Well, thank you for, what do I say? Heightening?
You've been heighted.
Heightening me?
Yeah, heightening. Heighted.
Heightening me. I've been heighted.
Thanks for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, brother. I'm so glad you asked me. I really enjoyed this.
You are genuinely one of my favorite people in town. Comedy aside, you are always a kind person to the people that you interact with. And this speaks to that. You coming here into my home to be so humble, to give us gifts like you have. I mean, you're a good dude, man. Thank you for being someone that I can look up to in the scene.
Well, you're welcome. And I do hope that money I gave you to pay the rent goes through. I don't usually write checks, but I thought to be official. Yeah. But let me know if it doesn't.
Thanks, Sam.
No.
I appreciate you. Where can the people find you?
I am on the corporate tip for the next few weeks doing corporate shows. Nice. I don't know if I'm gonna get another headline spot at Comedy Works anytime soon. Usually I do something by now.
All right.
But, maybe
we'll hope so.
Maybe this podcast will get me back in the good graces.
Let's hope so.
And but I would say probably sometime in November. Go to samadamsdoescomedy.com. samadamsdoescomedy.com, and my calendar's on there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on X. I do sign language, so when you see me doing stuff, man, I'm not. He was like looking at me.
Hey, we throw up signs. We're cool here.
Yeah, I'm not on X. I'm not on Twitter. I just, it goes back to my mom. She thought Twitter was a disease, and so I just don't get on. Your sister say you got the Twitter. I thought I told you to protect yourself at all times, but you can't be trusted.
If you're listening, please go see Sam do comedy. He is absolutely hilarious, and you will enjoy your night if you see him do comedy. So please do it. And thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and be well.